is Sven covering today? Well, if you looked at the title of today's then you would see we're talking about the combat tracker. We're going to be covering some other things after that, but we're going to take a quick look at the combat tracker once I figure out, here it is, which monitor. Don't want you guys to get sick. There we go. Doing a little bit of a, I forget what that's called anyway, the infinity vision right there. So it looks like we have sound and stuff, so we're ready to rock and roll. My frame is a little weird, but you know what, I really don't care at this point. Let's see if I can fix it in 30 seconds. Let's see, where is water? There it is. That's better, close enough. Alright, so let's take a look at the combat tracker, shall we? We're going to minimize this, right click to minimize, put this away. First of all, the first question is, where is the combat tracker? It is over here, underneath the tools, the little cross swords, that's your combat tracker. I'm going to move it in the middle here so we can see it. I typically keep it right there. I keep it as minimized as I can go from left to right, because you can change the size of it. And then I move my chat to match my combat tracker. I do this as a player and as a DM, so I can still see all the roles and then any chats or things that happen to me, and then I have the combat tracker. But that's just me personally. Set it up any way you want. That's the cool thing about the combat tracker. Alright, so I am looking at the DM version. While we're doing this, I'm going to go ahead and pull up a second version of Fantasy Grounds. The way you do this is, in my case, I have it down here. You can right click and just click here to start in the second version of Fantasy Grounds. And then you do join campaign, and then you join yourself. Hit start. I'm going to move it over for the moment, and I'll show you both side by side so you can see what the DM version looks like and the player version looks like of the combat tracker. So while we're waiting for that to load, we'll start off with a little quote. And alright, so you can see here Spencer77 connected. Anytime a player is connecting to your table, it takes just a moment, locks up your table for a moment. See, it wasn't that bad. So we'll make it a little, just a little bigger. I'm at my scale UI is at 100, so hopefully you guys can see it all right. So let's take a look at the DM version first. You can see here you have an eyeball. So this shows all NPCs. So we're going to open up our map. Give it just a moment to catch up with me. So here's our map. We're going to unlock it and turn off the lighting in the line of sight, because we're just doing this for a little reference. So when you have your monsters and you want to add them to the combat tracker, there's two ways of doing it. You can click here, on the bottom it says hostile, neutral, and friendly. Dragging that skull over will then drop all of your hostile. This one will bring all of your friendly over. I don't want to do that right now, so I'm just going to bring over Fid. So you'll notice he's a little obscured, whereas Fid is, you're able to see him well. That's because right now he is not, his eyeball is dark, and you notice it says show NPC. Alright, so it looks like I'm going to unlock this. Alright, so we'll bring this over. Here's my player version. I'm going to take it, make it half the screen, close this, character selection. Alright, so because I'm going to take this chat and move it over here, chat box. We're going to go to characters. Under player is characters. Open up Fid. So now I have access to Fid when I need to. See the character token right there. Portrait. You can use matching portrait here. Alright, so let's go ahead and share this map. We're going to minimize, not minimize, but shrink this down just a bit so I can show them side by side. Maybe we'll do top and bottom, huh? Think that will work better? Maybe we'll see. Let me move this down and go down to the bottom. No, I don't think that'll work better than the side by side. Okay, anyway, open up the combat tracker here. So you can see I cannot see the bad guy. And that is the first thing that you see up here on the top left of the combat tracker. It says show all NPCs. If you click this, I also have these three people here are neutral. So right now they're NPCs as well. Ivandor is also neutral. If you look in my combat tracker, you see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 things in the combat tracker. If you look at the player version, you see I have 1, 2, 3, and I'll just bring this down. I only have 5. So only the green are showing right now because all of my NPCs are hidden. So if we click this button up here, it says show all NPCs. One, it exposes them on the map. But the other important thing to keep in mind is this button also exposes them in the combat tracker. So they may not, all they see is this blackguard, but they also know, hey, there's an Ivandor and there's 3 other people sitting here somewhere. We just can't see them on the map yet. And with line of sight and all, that does come into play. Alright, so we'll click it again to hide all NPCs now. So we click it, it goes away. And then the rest of this is very similar. Let's move this over so we can take a look at them side by side. So this is my DM version on the right, player on the left. You see name is there, initiative is called order for the player, wound, max, and temporary hit points. Those are all there. The player has an icon It shows them whether they're friendly or not, but they cannot do anything with it. And then the player has effects, in the, which we'll go into in just a moment. As a DM, there are more. So you have the indicator of whether they're friendly or not, but you can also toggle that. So I can make them from hostile to faction. So if you have, say, somebody who's not really, I'm going to go ahead and show him. So you see here, it doesn't give a whole lot, all the detailed information of a friendly person, and they're also just plain, the skull itself is black, and they can be hidden if you use the faction one. It's basically like a team. So if you have obvious bad guys, obvious good guys, but then there's merchants, or there's guards, or a wandering group of dragonborn or tieflings, Aarakocra. You're not really sure what they are. They're not necessarily good or bad yet. They haven't interacted yet, or you're trying to determine that. That's a good way to use the faction. Friendly, now they can see their initiative. They can see their wounds, temporary and hit points, and you can tweak all that in the options as well, but the way I have it set up right now, that's a huge difference. Then there's neutral, and again, unless I expose him, they can't see him. You'll notice he's hidden, and when he's friendly, you can't unhide a friendly creature like this. You can't, they don't have the option. They're always visible in the combat tracker. But neutral, faction, enemies, they can all be hidden. But if I choose to, I can then make him visible. And again, it's just a truncated indicators for what they are. Again, because of the way I have my options set up. And then, of course, hostile. For everything except friendly, they are not shown. I have their order hidden. And I like that way personally, just because it allows me to control. The players know when they go. So, for example, Fid goes before Kithri in this example, but he doesn't. They don't know when the Black Guard's going to go, and they're also down below. They're not in initiative order either. So there's more than one enemy. They never know when the next person is going to go, and I prefer that myself. The way I have it set up. All right. So getting back to the combat tracker, here are some of the keys for the DM. So this is just shows that they exist. This toggles for all the creatures. Everything in the combat tracker, if you click these buttons, it will turn them off or turn them on. So let's go through them real quick. Targets turns on the targeting reticle, and what that will do is I can then drag onto a new target. So I can drag it to here on the map and let go, and now it shows Fid is targeted. Clear targets. I can also drag it right there in the combat tracker. Up there, and it shows that he is targeted. And if I want more than one, I then go to Kithri. Now both of them are targeted. Clear targets. So it shows you have multiple ways. You can then just click on him to clear that one individual. So if I have 3 of them selected as targets, I can just click the one and it'll go away, leaving only the one. So that's what targeting does. next one is attributes. Pretty self-explanatory. If you need to know what these are. This is slightly dependent on rule set as well. So for example, Starfinder has the same symbols, but they'll show a slightly different thing. So this is what I'm talking about today, is the 5e combat tracker. And so those your strength. You can double click it to roll it. So there you go. He did a dexterity check and he got a 15. Strength, for example. So here he rolls a 10, so his total is 14 because he has a 20 plus 4. His dex was only 11, so he didn't get a bonus to that. So that's if you wanted to do an attribute check, or if you just want to know what his strength is, you click attributes. Here, offense. This one is already showing. That's what the little symbol here is. So clicking on it won't do anything. With players though, it does toggle and show how they use their reaction. Shows their what their initiative total is, what their armor class is, and their speed. When it comes to his turn, that information is still not there. Also, if you turn it on, you'll notice when the blackguards, when it's not the blackguard's turn, and this is turned off, everything goes away. But say he gets a reaction, Fid moves away from him, and so he gets an opportunity attack. All you have to do is click on the offense. That opens it up, and he can then try to attack him. And then you click it to close it if you want to keep it minimized. So it's pretty. It makes it easier to do things. If you cast a spell, legendary actions, things like that, all you do is just click the offense symbol, and it'll open that up and close it again. So that's what that does. This is the space and reach. Size, reach 5. So as you go around him, you see the dark squares indicate that he has a 5-foot reach. So say this creature then casts enlarge, and so he then becomes a Barker. Stop it. He then becomes a large creature with a reach of 10. So let's keep his reach for 5 for a moment. So you notice the red changed. So we need to shift him over so that he's now there. You can just hold control and use your mouse wheel to enlarge the token. But he's now red to match his size. But his reach is still 5. So he's targeting possibly more squares, interacting with more squares because of his increased size, but his reach is the same. But you increase his reach to 10. Now that also increases. Most of this is done automatically. So, but there are times when you do want to adjust these things on the fly. Like I said, for like enlarge or reduce spells, things like that. Let's say he is a bugbear, and it's not, and so he has a 10-foot reach. Boom, change that reach to 10. Now you can see he has a 10-foot reach. So doesn't come into play a lot, but that's what the space and reach is for. And like I said, none of the players have any access to any of those, but they do work for the players as well. So if Fid gets enlarged, I can change his size and reach as well on the fly. So the last thing is effects. So you'll see there's a list of effects, and you'll notice the players have it as well. So when you click on the little button, it then takes this laundry list and puts them in a layered list, individual, one right after the other. This allows for a couple different things. Same thing with the DM. One, as a DM, you can add the effect. Players can't add it here, but they can drag it from their character sheet to themselves or anybody else. If a character, let's go to Fid, open up his character sheet. Here's his portrait. Let's double click on that. I rolled a death save for him, and he failed, but he's not hurt, so it didn't count. Drag it. Anyway, so we go to Fid, and let's say that it is Fid's turn. And he opens up the effects. So if you go here to the little effects button, there are all these effects. So let's say he throws a torch on himself. Torch. Boink. You'll notice something's changed. These were not added by him. This one was. So he can now manipulate anything that he put on a creature. Let's say he casts the spell Light on OMG, the little familiar. Again, you can see when he clicks this button, he can interact with this effect because he applied it. Here, he can see them, but he cannot interact with them. How do you interact with them? Well, there's a couple different things. So he has a torch. Let's say he puts out the torch, but he knows he's going to light it again. He always carries a torch. Now they're getting ready to sleep, or they're in an inn, so he doesn't have the torch on him. You just click this active button, and I can skip for one turn, or we can turn it off. And now when you click this button, it's not in the list. When it's on, the light is there. So this allows him, so if you have, say, a wizard cast mage armor every morning, that's how they start. When they wake up, they cast mage armor, they burn their first level spell slot, and they have mage armor on. But in 8 hours it'll turn off, or overnight when they're doing their watch, it'll be off. Instead of having to reapply it and delete it, you can toggle it. Having said that, as a DM, I have access to all of them. Now let's say, so I can turn it off as well. You'll notice it's gone. And skip for one turn, and then it's off, and then on again. Now let's say I want to add an effect, and I'm going to say cursed by a hag. So right now this says cursed by a hag. I can click on visible to all and have it only be visible to the GM. So he doesn't see it, but I do see it, and I will, so that way I can remember, oh hey, he's cursed by the hag. And when I minimize this by clicking on the symbol, you'll see it's in parentheses, cursed by hag, indicating that the player can't see it. So, for example, here Genesis, she's under a magical effect. So if I were to leave it like this, she doesn't know what this is. She may have been able to figure it out, but wild magic on a 6 ends on 25. So every time she casts a leveled spell, she's been rolling. I've been having her roll a 20. She doesn't know why. She's rolled a 1 a couple times and nothing's happened. But if she ever rolls a 6, something happens. Wild magic surge happens. And it ends on the 25th, the date of the 25th. And now it's visible only to me, so that's gone from her combat tracker. Another good example is Tusk. Let me close this. Tusk has Berserker Pants. So these are special pants that he got that give him a +1 to armor class unless he's raging. When he's raging, they don't give him a bonus to his armor class. So when he rages, he just clicks off, and then when he's done with his rage, he turns it back on. So that's another reason, a way of doing this. So you'll notice here he has his totemic attunement bear. He has it off right now because he's not raging, but when he rages, he just turns it on. So there's there we go. So we'll close this. So that's what the effects can do, but we're not done. As you're looking at an effect, so here I have Cursed by Hag. This is the duration, how many rounds it lasts. This is the initiative when it ticks down one more round. So if I say 3 rounds on initiative 20, then right now we're in round 1. If we go to the next round, I have the initiative re-rolls automatically. So once it drops below 16, then once it drops below initiative 20, you'll see here it's now down to 2. We go to the next round, it's still at 2 because it's 21. Once it drops to initiative 20, it now goes to 1 duration. And flip it around, he's initiative 24. Once it drops to initiative 20, it then just goes away. It automatically deletes it because it was duration of 3 on initiative 20. The other thing is drag onto new effect target. So a torch, again, let's say he gives the torch to Genesis. We click, boom, it targets Genesis Stillwater. Doesn't come into play a lot, but things like Hunter's Mark, Hex, things like that, you can just drag that to the new target that way. But like I said, it doesn't come into play as much as you might think. And then of course, you can just delete the effect. Alright, so let me go ahead and make this visible to the GM. So what had happened was there was a curse that was done cast on her, so I added it to her right here on the 19th. Genesis is cursed by the altar. Whenever she hears Asmodeus say versus Wisdom 20, or be paralyzed for 1d4 rounds. So we're going to copy this. I accidentally copied it twice. Here we go. So we're going to paste. There we go. Whenever she hears some day say versus 20, will be paralyzed. Again, this is only for me. She does not see that on hers. She's not friendly right now. There we go. She doesn't see it. Alright, so that is everything so far, and then if you want to add one, like I said, you just click it there. That adds an effect. So that's the effects. Why is this symbol here? So this symbol opens up as a dungeon master. You'll notice the players don't have this symbol, but as the game master, this is the link to the NPC or the PC. So it opens up either, so this is the character sheet, and if it's a bad guy, it's the NPC sheet. You can also, this is how you can add creatures. So if I wanted another blackguard, click down and drag it a little bit, let go, and it makes another blackguard in the combat tracker. This one is 18, so then I would just need to add him to the map, and now boom, I have 2. So that's what those symbols are. If you have any questions as we're going through this combat tracker, feel free to leave them below. If there's something that wasn't clear, or just you want more explanation on, or if you want to see an example of it in use, leave a comment below and I'll be glad to cover it. Or PM you and answer the question. Either way. Alright, so the last thing then that we want to talk about a little bit, well, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go back to all these effects. Why they're here, why I use them, why the players have so many things. Starfinder is even worse. There's a lot more. And we'll talk about that in just a moment. Let me finish wrapping up what these different symbols do. So on the player map, player version, not a whole lot left. All that's left is turn complete. So when my turn is done, I can only do it on the player's characters I control. So only when it's Fid's turn, I can then click on turn complete and it'll go to the next person, which in this case happens to be Blackguard 14. Something else to know as a player, this symbol is yet another thing that can be hotkeyed. So you can drop it down here. It's now in F2. So if it were Fid's turn again, just hit F2 and it skips the turn because it's hotkeyed down here. Or if it's Vid's turn again, he just clicks into this box and it skips the turn. So that's just another thing that can be hotkeyed. Some people don't want to have to find this key because they bury it with their other windows or maps or stuff. Or there is the rare person who doesn't use Combat Tracker at all. So for those of them who don't use the Combat Tracker, I say, hey, at least hotkey this so that I don't have to keep saying, are you done? Are you done? When you're finished, click next. All those things. They can hotkey it. And then of course it tells them what round it is. And the DM, we talked about this a little bit already, but you have the skulls. This just allows you to bring all of the creatures. So if this token was gone, delete all tokens. I don't want to delete all tokens, I just want to delete all enemy tokens. I can then drag the hostile skull to the map and it puts them both. Same thing with the friendly. If I did that, it will put all my friendly creatures on there. All, 5 of them. That's what the skulls do. This big symbol doesn't do anything. You do have the next actor. And then the last thing is this symbol is next round. So we are here at the middle of the round, and for whatever reason I wanted to jump to the next round. We're in round 4. I click this button, click, we're now in round 5, and it jumps to the next round. Not sure why you would want to do that, but you can. So let's talk about the menu. Combat Tracker menu. As you click the Combat Tracker menu, again, only the players have, only the GMs have this. There are 5 different options. First one is close the window. Pretty self-explanatory. Next one is rest. So if we click that, it then allows for the party to have either a short or a long rest. That also will automatically kick them out of combat and will trigger any rest activities that they have. So for example, let's go over here to Vid, to his actions. He is a monk fighter. Monk. So his action surge, say he uses his action surge, it replenishes once you must finish a short or long rest. His key, monkey, get it, monkey, is also a short or long rest. So say he's used those two things, the DM pushes, okay, click the menu button, click rest, click short rest, party taking short rest, and they have reset automatically. Long rest does the same thing, kills all, notice, got rid of all the initiative, including the NPCs. Everything is reset and ready to go. It does not get rid of wounds, but if when you take a long rest, it resets spell slots, it does everything it's supposed to do if you click rest. Alright, now the other one is initiative. The initiative gives you lots of different options. This is roll all initiative as the DM. This is only roll the NPC initiatives. This is only roll the player character initiatives. And this is clear all initiatives. So this is roll everybody. Boink. Click. I just want to roll the PCs. Click. Rerolls the PCs. Changes the order. Now fight's over. Clear them all. And the initiatives are gone. Last, down here is delete an effect. I've never used this myself. Basically, it's for so you can clear expiring effects. So if you're at the end of a fight, for example, and you have bless, well, blast only lasts a minute. So that's an expiring effect. You click this, it goes away. You can click this, and that'll clear all the effects that you have on the map, which in my case I would never want. I'm going to go ahead and check one other thing. Let's roll all initiatives. Yeah, so basically clearing the expiring effects is a good thing you want to do after every round. Your raging barbarian who forgets to turn off his rage, your shield that you had happen, your concentrating effect spells, all those things. Clearing expiring effects will get rid of those. And then of course the last one is delete from tracker. So if you click on that, you have delete all non-friendly or delete only foes. So right now you'll see I have some neutral, a faction, and evil. The evil I just threw in here as an example, so I'll just click delete only foes. Now the blackguards are gone. And I don't want to get rid of my other people that I have on here. I'm going to get rid of this one. One thing I do want to point out, so that's all the menus. Okay. So I want to just get rid of this person. This is a player character, and if you look at the effects, he's got all these different effects: ring and protection, the light spell that he has on and off, the magic I talked about. Remember, he has the same effect on him that Genesis does. I'm going to turn this to GM only. Spell Sniper, Draconic Ancestry, Resist Lightning. So he has all these effects on him. When you delete, and one way to just delete, if you're in the middle of a fight and an NPC, a monster, takes enough hit points to kill him. Let's show that real quick. So Ivandor is an NPC, so we'll switch him over to hostile. He has 66 hit points. Okay. So we'll go to Fid. Where'd my map go? Here it is. So Fid, we will click and add him to the map by, I can either drag the skull, which will bring all the enemies over, or I can click on his dragon token. Oops, sorry, that's just a link, a shortcut. Click on his token and add that token to the map. And if you didn't catch that, one thing I forgot to mention when I got to this side is these are links which are true for any time you see that symbol. The dragon head is always a link. So this not only does it open up his character sheet, but like most links, you can click and drag it to a map or a story entry or somewhere else and link it for later use as a GM. Alright, so he's there. Fid is going to then use his quarterstaff and start pounding on him. As he tries to attack, he's going to move up. And we're going to say that he has a special ability that allows him to hit. So as he's hitting, following up with his unarmed strike, punch, kick, punch, kick. You'll notice, by the way, he has skip turn. That does what it says. It skips his turn. So now he's wounded. I can see on my side exactly how much wound he has. 30 out of 66. Move this over just a little bit more. There you go. So you can see what's happening in the combat tracker as the player is doing this. Turns to wounded. Again, these are set. These are based on options. 20, so he gets a critical, double. Now he's heavily wounded. He's now at 58. 61 wounds. And that's enough. So he's now dying. Unconscious. You see that. The players can see that. As a DM, I also see that. I also see his effects. Again, the parentheses indicates only I can see it because he's resistant to stuff. You'll notice now there's that symbol shows up again. So I click it once, click it twice to delete him. And he's gone from the combat tracker. Both combat trackers, he's gone. And he's out of the fight. To delete a character, right click on it. You then have all these options as players for the players. You can rest just him, so say he has, there's a certain monk or race spell or classes that allow you to take, like there's a spell that if you take a short rest it counts as a long rest. So say he casts that spell, I can click rest, and again I can either give him a short rest or a long rest. That's what that does. Just the individual. Closes the combat tracker. I can delete him. We'll come back to that in a minute. I can make a new item in the combat tracker. Just an unidentified creature. I can roll individual initiative, so I can just roll his initiative. If I need to just have him re-roll his initiative for some reason. So then I can, so for, I want to get rid of this guy, right click, delete, confirm delete, that removes him from the thing. So now let's say he comes back next week. I then want to add him to the combat tracker. You will notice none of those effects are there. All of those effects he had are gone. So that is why, in this case, she had to miss a week. I didn't want to delete her from the combat tracker because she would then have to add all of her stuff back in. All I did in this case is change her fashion to neutral and hide her so she wasn't taking up space in the players, and then I added skip turn to her so that it would just automatically skip her turn every time she came up. So now when she comes back, I just change her back to green and she doesn't have to add all of her stuff in. All of her stuff, by the way, are things like stuff I mentioned already. The Dragonborn Resistance, Draconic Ancestry, Resist Lightning, Ring of Protection. So all these things have to be added back into the combat tracker when you delete them. Alright, so that is pretty much it for the combat tracker. I'm going to go ahead and call it here. I think I'm going to stop this. I might restart it again and go over what I was going to go over in the first place. But I wanted to do this every once in a while, just grab one section, one tool, or one part of the Advanced Ground Unity and just cover it in detail. You know, like modifiers, effects, options, calendar. Real quick, last thing I do want to cover as a player and as a DM are your options that affect the combat tracker. A player doesn't have a whole lot of options, period. So the hit points you can show. This is new. Yeah, this isn't working. I was gonna say players aren't able to choose that. And then auto center on the map is a big one, but that has nothing to do with combat tracker. And so yeah, so this really doesn't affect the combat tracker at all. The ring on whisper is pretty much, well, that's for chat. Yeah, so the players don't have any options. DMs, on the other hand, we have a lot of options. So let's keep this up. Let's bring in an NPC. We're gonna make him visible. We'll open our NPCs. We're gonna grab a acid vape. An abyssal wretch. No, I don't like it without a token. Delete. Let's go with the adult blue dragon. Alright, we're gonna make it visible. Boink. Alright, so there we go. We can see the adult blue dragon on both combat trackers and the players. So, as a DM, here, let's go through the options real quick. You open it up by opening the cog underneath tools. Combat tracker, close on turn. So this is a extension I have. So what happens is I have Genesis. So now if I go next, it automatically opens up the character sheet, and I have that set for both. Open on turn is only for NPCs. Close is for both. So if I open it up and then I move next, it automatically closes his, opens his because he's an NPC. When it goes down to FID, he's not an NPC, so it does not open up his. That's a familiar, by the way. OMG is a familiar. So he's green, but he's not a PC, he's an NPC. Anyway, that's what that is. Alright, so combat. So here we go. So this is, the combat is pretty much what we're is dealing with the combat tracker. All your options are going to be here. So, first of all, ally health. So this is your friends. I show them their wounds to the number, detailed messages, or it could be status. Health it goes healthy, wounded, hurt, or just completely off. Everything is off. There's nothing there except for the order. Auto NPC initiative is on, which means as soon as I add the NPC to the combat tracker, it automatically rolls it for me. I don't have to click on every single one. You can turn that off. I'm sorry. You can have it off completely to where you have to roll each individual time. Now, for most people, it's not a big deal, but I re-roll initiatives every round. Or you can also have them be, so auto NPC initiative is on, you can also have it set for groups. So that means if you have 6 kobolds, they'll all go on the same initiative. I prefer each kobold to have its own initiative, so I set that for on. So it automatically rolls each individual NPC's initiative. Enemy health player display. Again, it's the same options you had for the players. You can turn it off completely to where they don't see anything. You can have it be detailed to where they know exactly how many hit points it has, or you can have it be a status where it's healthy, wounded, critical, or heavy and then critical. Combat NPC numbering. So this is if I have more than one. Let's say I add another adult dragon. It'll say adult dragon 8, adult dragon 17. Why do you do that? Why do I have this on? If I have it off, make sure I knows what I'm talking about. Yeah, so if you have it off, there's no numbering at all. If you turn it to append, I will clear out. Here, I'm going to turn one of them friendly. Delete all foes. I'm going to change him to Adult Dragon 1. Hostile. So now, if it's on append, it numbers them in order. So 1, 2, 3. What this does is, if they don't see dragons 1 or 2, and all of a sudden you see dragon number 3, well, they know there are 2 others. Or if you're fighting dragon number 1, and then all of a sudden dragon number 5 shows up, well, they know there are 4 others. So that's why I have the numbering be random, so that when I add one, it could be any number. So here's dragon adult 18. That doesn't mean there are 7 other adult dragons. It simply means there are, they don't know. But they can say, I'm attacking number 18, whereas if it's completely off, then it just says adult blue dragon, adult blue dragon, adult blue dragon. And it's harder to differentiate who they're fighting. So that's what the numbering is. Wound categories, again, simple and detailed. Let's see, simple. Let's add some damage to him. We're going to go 100, 200, and we're going to make this a little bigger. Alright, so we have one as wounded, the other 2 heavy. So this is wound category simple, detailed. There we go. So simple is just healthy, wounded, and then dead. So here we'll kill this guy. Dying. Detailed, you'll notice it's healthy, moderate, critical, healthy, moderate, heavy, critical, dying. So it's just more detailed. I prefer the more detailed, so they can you have a little bit more of an idea. They don't know the numbers, but is a little bit better. Alright, NPC roles, variable or fixed. That simply means on their character sheet, when you open up an NPC, look at his attack. A hit is 2d10 damage plus 7, or it's 18. So if you have the NPC rolls on variable and he makes an attack, come on, it rolls, and because it's variable. If you have the NPC rolls on fixed, it will always be 18 plus 5. It'll be every single time it'll be the average. That is fixed. Here is variable. Simple as that. Again, Dungeons and Dragons about dice rolling, so I like the variable. Ring bell on turn. For the player, I can turn that on or off. I like it on so that the players, when it's their turn, so you'll notice with OMG, it's his turn. Listen for when I click next. When it was Fid's turn, as my player version went bling and made a noise. That's what that does. It can be on or off. Simple as that. Show turn order. So this is how I have this set up. Right now, friendly. You can tell who your friends are and when they go, what order they go in. They cannot tell the dragons, because the NPCs or the factions or your neutral people, they don't know when they go. But if I turn it to off, they don't know when anybody goes. It's all alphabetical. Friends, alphabetical, enemies, everything is off. Or I have all, and that way they know when everybody goes. So I prefer friendly, so that at least they know based on their friends when they go. I've also played where everything was off. You never knew when people went, especially if you re-rolled initiative every round. You just had to pay attention, which I like in a perfect world, but honestly it does annoy people. So I have a friendly as a DM. Alright, token. This is I'm not sure what this is. Tiered or standard for bar colors. This has to do with the token, not with the NPCs. Not with the combat tracker. Show effects on notice. So what that is, if it's say it's Tusk's turn, click turn. This says turn. That's just his name. Kithri. Whereas if you have, go back to Fid, show effects on notice on, you click next, it shows what effects he has on him. So that so you see that dragon, Kithri, these are the effects that are on it. So you can turn it on and off. Again, who do you want to see those notices? This is what they're talking about. So do you want, I have it set to where in the combat tracker, in the chat, the player chat, he sees all the effects of their friends, good and bad, whereas if I had them all, they would see the effects of the monsters too, the NPCs. So if the NPCs had armor class boosts or special effects that were happening to them, they would see those every turn. It became their turn as well. I don't want that to be the case. Alright, skip dead non-ally. That is just what it says. If it's not an ally and they're dead, so like this guy right here. So we go here, 18, it waits. Now number 3 here is dead, so I have my skip dead non-ally on. So I skipped him. And went right down to Gimbal. Skip hidden actor. So if I usually have that off, simply because, say, dragon number 1 was around the corner. If I have this on, then when it becomes his turn, he gets skipped. I want that off so it doesn't skip him, because even though he's hidden, he's still doing stuff. If you know for a fact, you know, if you have 2 groups of enemies, and one of them is fighting the PCs right now, and then the other one is going to come up later, but they aren't going to be there yet, not going to be doing anything for several rounds, jump into your options, turn that off so that they get skipped automatically, and then you can turn it back on when they're ready to go. And then the last thing is stop at round start. So when the round starts, it'll pause. I'll turn that on. And so what happens is, when you get to the bottom of the round, you'll see nothing is happening. So you have to then go to the next actor, and it starts again. So you'll see here in the combat tracker for the friendlies, click Adult Blue Dragon, click next round. Round 3 happens. Nobody is selected, nothing is happening until the DM clicks next actor, and now it starts. Not sure why you would ever want to pause between each round. Maybe the end of the night, and you just don't want to, you know, don't want them to know who's going to be next, or I don't know. But that's what that does. Stop the round. Alright, so now we're done with the combat tracker and the details. Like I said, what my goal is, every couple weeks, grab one aspect of it. I might just spend time with the options and go down the whole list of options that are available in Fantasy Grounds. I might cover the color palette. What does that do? The calendar. What does that do? Party sheet. The modifiers and the effects. All these different tools. What do they do? Maybe your modules and assets. What they do. Go down this list at some point and just cover everything. If there's something in particular that you is a little confusing or you don't know about, say you've never used the calendar. The calendar is awesome. As a DM, it is great. Just saying. Ask about it, and I'll be glad to go into details with it. If you want to know more about any of those things, any of the symbols on the right side, let me know which that, and I will be glad to cover them in detail. So thank you for hanging with me today. Like, subscribe, send this link to your grandma. Come back tonight, Thursday nights, 7 to 10. We'll be doing a little bit more of the D's and the D's, and whatever else you do. Enjoy the rest of your day.